Hi everyone, today I don't have one but 3 different videos. This is the how to color glitter effects tutorial where I show you how to color baubles and make glitter effects. This sheet is a freebie which you can find on my blog. There is a link in this description down below. And now we are going to color these little baubles. I have cut them to pieces because I think it's easier to color in small parts, but you can color the whole sheet if you want to. Again, it's a freebie if you want it. So first I'm going to show you how I color baubles. This is basically a hanging bauble, but I know it is angled, but sometimes. But the idea is that it doesn't really have that any surfaces around itself, which means that it doesn't get that much of a reflective light. So this is how I color baubles, just easy. And also a little note on this when I'm coloring these baubles is that they are matte. The bauble I'm coloring right now is a matte bauble. If you have a shiny bauble, like a glass bauble, it will also have reflections, really strong reflections, like the reflection in a glass. Therefore, I've chosen to do a matte one because they don't get that reflection, they just get the light source and I don't have to think about what kind of objects I would be reflecting into the bauble. So that's kind of the idea. I'm using the same reds all through this tutorial, which is actually 2 browns and the rest reds, because I really like the combination, because it gets a little bit more muddy than the usual reds. For me it feels a little bit more Christmassy. But when you do a bauble, in this case I made a little arrow up in the right upper corner, and I showed where the light comes from, and therefore the light will reflect the most on the top right side. And to make it look a little bit more circular, I actually have chosen to give it a little bit of roundness, rounded shadow up at the foremost top, just to get it a little bit, it will look a little bit more round. The deepest shadow is in the lower left corner. That is where I start with the E44 and the E43. Then I go in with the R46, which is my darkest red, and I make sure that I color over the brown with it to kind of tone down the brownness and make it a little bit more red. Then I'm going in with the R27. I'm going in like small C shape and then closing up that C shape to very distorted O. And top off with the R24. I did 2 layers because I get a much better blend, and then I go up with the colorless blender to make that little shine. And that is the first bauble. That is the free hanging bauble that doesn't have reflective light. And I'm doing this because I really wanted to show you kind of the idea underneath the glitter effect. So this is a little bit of a longer video. If you just want to see the glitter effects, that will be at the end of the video. But I have one more bauble. Now I'm going to show you with this. This is the lightest color, R22. I'm actually not using that in the bauble. I'm just showing you where the light is. This bauble is actually lying on the ground, and because it's lying on the ground, it has a reflective light that reflects from the ground onto the bauble. And I've chosen to put that in the lower left because I have the light at the upper right. But that will, if you put things around it, that reflective light will come a little bit from different parts. But I'm making this just as simple as I can do. So basically it's just lying on the ground, it doesn't have any objects around it, so this is how the kind of reflections fall. Again, I'm going in with the R44 and the R43 as my kind of darkest shadows. And then on top of that, I'm going in with the R46 to kind of add the redness. I'm doing this C shape that is open towards the light, and then I'm going in, because this has the reflective light, I wanted to kind of give that a little bit more dimension. So the R46 actually goes up a little bit higher on this bauble, just to give that kind of light C shape for that reflective light. And then I'm going in with the R427, which actually is this. I have switched pens. So the R27 is going in to be the next, and this is where I kind of work both above that reflective, or just above the reflective light. Then the R24, now I go over my two light sources. To make this a little bit more even, I go over all of the colors again. If you don't get an even result when you are blending, the recommendation I have is to go over with the same colors from dark to light again, to kind of blend those colors together a little bit better. So I'm going in with the E44 and E43, and then the R46 to enhance the deepness. Then I'm going in with the R27 to blend the R47 and 46 out very thoroughly. And then last part is the R24, where I just blend the light parts. I'm going to go in a little bit with the colorless blender because I wanted a shine, and then I kind of realized that that reflective light was a little bit too light, because that would usually be a little bit darker, so I went in with the R27 on top of the reflective light. So now we're at the glitter effect idea, and the reason why I wanted to show you how I color baubles the first way is because the base of a glittered bauble is exactly the same as with a matte bauble. So I use the E47 and the E43. This is the free hanging bauble. So, and don't you love the word bauble? It's just a wonderful word. But anyhow, this is the free hanging one. So I worked the same way as I did with the previous free hanging one, with the E44 and E43 as the deepest shadows. Then I'm adding in the R46 and kind of mapping out where I wanted, and then just filling it in. All of the coloring that I'm doing here is in real time. I have not sped up anything. So I'm a little bit, I probably would gone a little bit slower if these were supposed to end up on cards, just to get a little bit more detail. Then I'm going in with the R27 to get that light source, the last part of the light source before covering with the R24. And then I'm just mixing it together with the 47 and then with the 24 at the top. So everything just adds to each other. And this is where I start with the kind of glitter effect part. So instead of going over everything a second time, which I could have done also, but I was lazy, I'm going in with the E44 and I'm making small dots. These dots are actually the shadow of the glitter. This is a very simple way of doing it, is to start with the shadows. So I'm going in with the different colors and adding, like I'm adding the R46 over the R46 and a little bit over the R27. So the same with the E44 was on top of the E44 and a few dots on the E43 part of the shadowing. And going up that way so that I don't have any of the darker dots on the lighter of the reds, I just going in color by color and adding those shadows in. So these are the shadows. And this is the last part of the kind of Copic coloring. Yeah, the colorless blender. I'm going in to make a little bit of lighter when it's not super shiny, but it is a little bit shiny. You can use the colorless blender to just dot small dots to make those to make the kind of lighter parts of the glitter. But we're gonna go in with my gel roll pen. You can use any kind of white gel pen that you have. I do have a few that I love, but I kind of forgot to put the lid on some of them. So right now I just have the white Jelly Roll pens, which works pretty good actually. So I'm gonna add the like glitter dots, and I'm going a little bit overboard, just a little bit overboard. But the idea is that you add lesser of the white glittered dots on the darker parts and more on the lighter parts, because on the lighter parts there will be more glittered reflected, as it isn't in the shadow. And then I'm adding these little kind of stars. I'm gonna go over them because they didn't look the way I wanted. Basically, I go in and make these little kind of stars, squares. I'm going from the middle of a point, and then I'm just adding out so it gets like a little bit of a thinner tip towards the outer edges, but it's like a little cross that starts in the middle and goes out. And those are kind of the reflections, the little teeny tiny extra kind of tinkling blings. So I thought I'd show you, put the glittered one so you can see it here on the side. I'm using some W's just to show that this one is grounded. This is a very simple way of grounding pieces if you don't want to do any backgrounds and you don't want to cut the things out. So this shows that it is lying kind of on the floor. Then I'm going in again with the E44. I'm doing the same layering as I did on the mat that was laying on the floor. Again, I'm only doing one layer, and kind of in retrospect I should have done 2 layers of colors, because you can actually see it's not as blended as my matte baubles were, and I wish they were, but that's just me being a little bit picky about how I do this. So then I'm kind of just trying to figure out how I want to have that little C and where it's gonna start and end. It's like a little half moon or a quarter moon maybe, lying at the bottom, the reflective light. Baubles are so much fun to color. And I actually did a couple when I did this tutorial. So I now have a whole bunch of baubles lying on my table. I should do something with them. You can actually just add a little string in the little hanging thing there, and you can hang it on your tree if you want to. Then you have like your own colored baubles. Kind of cool. Again, I'm doing the little reflective light moon with the R46. I'm taking my time here. This is my 4th bauble that I've been coloring. This time I decided, well, I'm going over with the R27 anyhow directly, so this is how I'm going to do it. Reflective light are usually a little bit duller than the light that you get from the light source, from the first light source, the secondary light source, or the reflective light, sorry. There's secondary light sources too. You can have one lamp at top and then you can have one at your bottom, and then you have about the same reflection. But we're not going into that right now. We're doing this simple. I'm finished this off with the R24. So now I'm going to do all the dotting again. And a little tip when doing dots or any kind of small details, hold your pen so it's straight up, vertically straight up, because the more straight your pen is, like vertically, the easier it will be to make small pieces. It's when you want to make small flicks, but also when you want to make small dots. So I'm going in with all the pens, the darkest of the pens, I'm doing the dots at the darker parts. The lighter of the pens, I'm doing the dots on the lighter parts. So basically just going through the pens that way to give the glitter some shadow. And then I'm going back in with the colorless blender and making small things. I forgot to make that little extra light on the glitter, so I added that too. And then I'm using my Jelly Roll pen again. Now here you can see very good that I'm doing very tight, a lot of small dots where it is the lightest, and the further away I get from the light source, the lesser of those small tiny reflection points I have, because that is how the light will kind of work. And then I'm going in and making these little stars or crosses or what you want to call them, that kind of makes the glitter look like it's glittering. And I'm making smaller ones at the reflective light and bigger ones at the main light reflection, kind of, because that will make it look like it's more glittery up and a little less glittery at the down part. And yeah, that was my how to color glitter tutorial, glitter effects tutorial. I hope you liked it. If you do, please thumbs it up. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions, just comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!